What I'd like to do this week is try to finish the Hakdama. It's a hard thing for me to do because I always get stuck on every beautiful word that he says. But so stop me if you want if I get off track. But we're on page 24. At the beginning, it'd be good to look inside because I want to do a lot of inside work here. Everybody have a sefer? You don't hold it? It's okay. Yeah. That's on my fault.
How's the paragraph start?
Top of page 24. V'im ki chazina l'daite. You don't have. V'im ki chazina l'daite demar abazal. I think there's still two more svarim that nobody bought. It's good for you to have a sefer if you don't have one. I forgot how much it is. And some chanel on us. We're just starting the sefer next week. V'im ki chazina l'daite demar abazal diyoiv daite aleim l'kavtzam yachad. Even though he was talking about all the different shilos and shuvas that he wrote, and Chidushei Torah that he wrote, and he says, even though we saw the Yoav Daitan Lekavsi Yachad that his father put together all of his chidushim, Amnam, however, Al Kulam Leinitztavese Mi'itoy La Pisam, and this is where he gets right into the Nefesh Hachaim, what the Nefesh Hachaim is. He never asked us to. Never commanded me as a son to print his Chidushei Torah. Rak al don itztavesi, the only thing he commanded me was mefurish, yoytze mipiv, and mefurish came out of his mouth, yoim haloisa shamayma b'nayrois tevarim, on the day that he left this world, he left, in other words, his last words were to me, li'ischazik b'chol koichi, that I should use all the strength I have, l'chazik beis ulpana didei, that I should strengthen his Beis Medrash, in other words, the Volozhin Yeshiva. So he saw his contribution to the world was, if Volozhin Yeshiva works, then that should be Moshe Nefesh for him. He was right, because the whole Yeshiva world, everything in the Yeshiva world that we have today, that we call today Yeshiva, started in Volozhin, everything. There is really there's no zeicher almost in today's yeshivish world of any kind of yeshiva that existed before Volozhin that I know of. Like nobody's.
What was it like before?
What, the yeshivas? There was a Rav, and people went to the Rav, and they learned with him. People sat and learned. Sitzed and learned. But yeshiva with starm and a schedule and a program and like that, everybody in one place. We went to the Beis Medrash and they learned. So, but the problem with that was that people went off on all kinds of their own derech.
There's no seder.
But there was enough seder, so the Torah became strange. It wasn't like good Torah because they weren't trained. It's like becoming a doctor on Google. It doesn't really. It's not really organized. So his first command to me, this was his death wish. His first wish. Not his death wish, his wish on his deathbed, it was, first of all, to make sure that the Beis Medrash stays open. V'gam al kontrasim halolu, on these notebooks, the Nefesh Hachaim, which came as 4 notebooks. That's what he wrote, 4 separate notebooks. Nasan koiloi alai mikiros levava, he raised his voice from the depths of his heart, shlei ashana midvarav kasher ein ksuvim, not to change anything that I wrote at all. Kacha tzivesi latfisa miziros. And he commanded me to do this very, very quickly. So one was to write the Nefesh Hachaim just historically, publish the Nefesh Hachaim, and not to make any changes. Now it's hard to make changes were that this was a highly political time that there was going on with the Hasidim and the Misnagdim, and it would have been natural either to create machlokes and make more changes, and this was an opportunity to really make machlokes, or to minimize machlokes and change it. But either way, he said, don't change it. And that was his tzivoy. The fact is, it's changed in 2 places from his original.
Was this his only son?
It was his only son.
And how long was this in existence before he died?
The Nefesh Hachaim?
Yeah.
It wasn't in existence.
The manuscript.
The manuscript was there. He says. But the original manuscript, which they found more recently, has two changes from the Nefesh Hachaim that we have today. And both of them are about Hasidim. So it's...
They found the original handwritten manuscript?
Yeah. It's very frightening how things change. People like the Vilna Gaon's writings were changed in 3 places, specifically when he comes to talk about, because the Vilna Gaon says very clearly that you can't understand Torah without having a knowledge of secular information.
Very bad.
Crossed it out. It's amazing. The old Shulchan Aruchs, you find it in parentheses. But they literally took it out. And the Goin says this. How do I know that it was correct that the Goin says it? Because he says it in a number of places. It wasn't just in one place. They didn't catch them all. But it is one of his Talmidim when he wrote a sefer, put a whole Hakdama based on this. This was like the Shita of the Gaon. The Shita of the Gaon was that if you don't understand, he enumerated what it was. I think it was, you have to understand algebra, you have to understand music, you have to understand, it's like 7 chachmas that you have to understand in order to understand Torah. You simply don't get it if you don't understand it. It's crossed out. So it's the Nefesh sefer. Nefesh sefer nechsan v'sanusay. Nefesh sefer means, it's an expression which means let's check the facts about his humility. Sheiniach daitoi. What happened was sheiniach daitoi mechiburim gedolim. He wasn't concerned on his deathbed about all the big sefarim that he wrote, the chidushim, which would have made him very great. And like Chaim Volozhin says this in the Gemara, he says that in the Gemara. We don't have that. This Nefesh Hachaim is what has to be. Now, Nefesh Hachaim is not such a small fry sefer here, but compared to his Chedushim and Shas, he considered it a small effort. But what was the pshat in that effort? The effort is this sefer is going to bring your Shabbat to everybody. And the other Svarim, so they'll hear my Chiddush. So this is Hiniach daita mechiburim gedolim v'hi mit atzmai l'meiv daita al kontrasim halelu hamaatim unamuchim l'fi archai hagvaya, which were very, very small compared to who he was. Kimudas, because it's well known, shedvar Hashem haisel Eliyahu chasida, because he was explaining why was he so great. Because everybody knows that the Vilna Gaon was Gadol Hadar. Dvar Hashem haya el Eliyahu chasida. It's a take from the pasuk of Eliyahu and Navi. Dvar Hashem haya el Eliyahu. So he says everybody knows that he had revelations from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. V'niglu like talumais chachma, and that he had all of the hidden parts of chachma. Kasher kvar yatsa or dvar b'tfus. We know because we see some of it in printing. V'od eser yadais loy b'nistaris b'ksuvim k'mo sheharech marabu goin zavak d'masel l'safer d'tzniusay. And he had 10 times as much in Kabbalah as what we know. There's a sefer Safer d'Tzniusa, which is a Kabbalah sefer, Safer d'Tzniusa, and that's a Kabbalah sefer. And the Vilna Gaon wrote a pirush on the Sefer d'Tzniusa. Very hard to understand even what he's talking about. It's hard to understand even what subject he's talking about. So Rabbi Chaim Volozhin wrote a Hakdama to the Sefer d'Tzniusa, which is a Hakdama, wherein he explained that one of the things that he says, which made a Roshim on me, I read the Hakdama, one of the things that it says is that the Vilna Gaon, as great as he was in Torah, he was even greater in Nister. Like his Kabbalah was even greater than his Nigla. We don't know. I mean, we know some of it, but we don't know. We have no idea.
What kind of a father was Mar Abba HaGoyim?
His father. No, he's talking about Reb Chaim Volozhin.
Reb Chaim wrote.
Reb Chaim wrote in parentheses, "V'shamati mimar Abba HaGoyin Zal." He says, and I once heard from my father, "Shekol kisvei hakodesh b'nistaris mimar Eliyahu Zal," that anything that we have written in Kabbalah from the Vilna Gaon, listen to this, "Nichtavu kodim shegiu l'Arbaim," was all written before he was 40 years old. Kimiyaz, because once he became 40, Bina Yisera Tosefus, like you're not supposed to learn Kabbalah until you're 40. So he was 40, so everything started to flow. All the Kabbalah became clear to him, and that Loihayazman Maspik Likasev Komash Niglalai. It's too much. After 40, he couldn't even. The stuff that he was understanding in Kabbalah was too much to write down. So everything we have is his Kilo juvenile Kabbalah when he was 40. Now, if you look at the Pirush of the Sefer Itzele, so this was no kid stuff over here. But that was all. So the Reb Chaim Volozhin said that anything he learned after 40, which was for another 25 years, was way too much to write down. So it's the Vilna Gaon.
You know who his Rebbe was? Or he was self-taught?
Vilna Gaon?
Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, we do know, but he's an unknown. Umar Abazal, now it comes to my father, Kolat Soilus Mikol Beis Nechais Rabbi. He's the one who was able to capture the best, the finest flour from the Vilna Gaon. So the Chaim Volozhin was huge, he was amazing, but nevertheless, his point is, he was Moser Nefesh, and his deathbed command was, do the Nefesh Hachaim. What he understood from the Arizal through the Gaon was amazing. And it was clear to him. When he brings only a touch of what he knew in Kabbalah in the Nefesh Hachaim. Now Nefesh Hachaim is full of Kabbalah, but again, that's just a tipa shabiyam of what he knew. So Pesach kemachat sitkis lamisha libay pasuach Pesach kepischei shalulam. He made a tiny little hole for a person whose heart was so open, kepischei shalulam. You know, by the way, just while I'm here, I just want to say that the Chazal say, this is where this comes from, Pesach li Pesach, what's our obligation? Pesach li Pesach ki chudai shel machat, v'ani eftach l'cha ke pischei shel ulam. It's the Lashon of Chazal. Like Torah is so big, how are we supposed to do it? So it says, all you need to do is chudai shel machat, a drop, and then HaKadosh Baruch Hu will give you the rest b'batana. So that's what Chazal say. Our job is just to do a drop. But in all the English translations, including Art Scroll, it says that open up the hole like the eye of a needle, and I'll open up to you like the breadth of a big hall. But I just want to point out that Chudai Shel Machad is not the eye of a needle, so it's a wrong translation. There's even a book called The Eye of a Needle. But it's not the eye of a needle is the part you put the thread through. The Chudai Shel Machad is the point. The point. It's a much smaller. You can't if you take a needle and you make a point hole in a piece of cloth, you can't put a piece of thread through that. So you're talking about something much smaller than this was a wrong translation. It was significantly wrong translation. But since there's an expression in the English language of the eye of a needle, so it's not the eye of a needle. It's the point. Chudai Shel Machad is the point of a needle. The guy who wrote the book, The Eye of a Needle, I wrote him this in an email. Need an answer?
Didn't Arya Kaplan on it say?
No.
No. He didn't respond.
What? Okay, it's just wrong, yeah. But it's wrong translation. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam
The Ari also, all his writings were before age 40.
Before age 40.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously.
Ari, the Kollel.
Obviously, yeah.
Yeah.
And the Ramchal. Chal died at 40 also. But then we don't know if he knew more. You know. U'paroicha binasai, with his breadth of understanding, chakach v'chatzav hadvarim, shaklan v'himiram v'tzarfim l'derech haTorah v'avodah yiras Hashem. He took it a step further, which is very significant, that he took all of the Kabbalah of the Arizal and he brought it down to Yiras Shamayim. What does it mean? Just to understand, the history here is that Kabbalah is a very esoteric teaching. It's very ethereal. It's up there, and there's not a lot of practical in it. The whole point of Sefer Chasidus is that they took inyanim of Kabbalah and they brought it to Derech Avoda. That's the whole thing which the Hasidic Rebbes in the time of the Balatanya and others wanted to do, is to take something which was very ethereal and tell us how we should be Avdei Hashem with this. So that's what Hasidus is, and Kabbalah just up there, according to the Hasidim, is not something we learn. Hasidus is like a filter of your Shemayim on the Kabbalah. So you can't be You could be an academic Kabbalist, which there are many, but you can't be an academic chassid. It doesn't make sense, because so he's saying here that it's not just Chassidus. He did the same thing in Nefesh Hachaim. What he did was he distilled all of the Kabbalah of the Vilna Gaon, and he brought it to Derech HaAvoda. So this is the klal, like with, I think it's an important klal, when it comes to Inyanim of Kabbalah, to like if it doesn't bring to Yer Shemaim, so then we don't belong there probably. Just to understand, it's got to bring somehow to Yer Shemaim. Useful. I think the Rambam even says someplace that any chachma that you learn that doesn't bring you to Yer Shemaim is not worth exploring. Which is not necessarily Kabbalah. Any chachma, when you start studying anatomy, it's just unbelievable what Hashem did on a molecular level. It's absolutely unbelievable. If you start studying nature, if you start studying anything that you study, you can see the Yer Shemaim. Upasach kemachet sitchi lemishalibai pasuach peschei shalaylam I did that already. Obereicha b'nasei chakak v'chotzav advarim shekolan v'himiron. He weighed them, he changed them, he worked them, v'tzarfam, he finished them. L'derech haTorah v'yer shemaim. So he tweaked every word of Kabbalah. This was the godless of the sefer. Nefesh Hachaim. He tweaked all of the Kabbalah to bring it to Yer Hashem. L'hayris haderech. He also tells how to go, how to live, v'amais hashiyas, and what to do. Since he was young, he always looked to teach things which everybody can understand. And all of his life came together in one knot as he went up to the Shemaim. Which reminds you of something that when I was a yeshiva bacher, so I went home to Buffalo to the Rav Eisenberger, my rabbi. So he asked me to speak in shul, give the drasha. I was 18. So I gave the drasha. So after the drasha, he came over to me. The Rav came over to me. He gave me Yeshur Koach. The drasha, he says, let me just tell you something. Like the idea of giving a drasha is to be b'chazak the people, not to show them how much you know. Okay. So that was really hadracha l'chaim. The idea is not to varif it, to show, what a big tavach, whoa. It's not for everyone to say wow, which they didn't anyway, actually. But most of them just slept soundly through. But the idea is to come up with something. So the truth is that I'm no gadol, but I'm just saying for gedolim, like the Nisayan is not to you listen to a gadol speak. Sometimes the bigger they are, the more they the more pashut that they speak. I was thinking, I just brought this to show you. There's a sefer, Kavod Kushisa. So probably nobody heard of it, right? You ever heard of it? Kavod Kushisa. So this was sefer written by the Chelkas Yoya. Chelkas Yoya was the Rav of Kinsk in Europe. So let's say it was a good chaver of Rabbi Yosef Engel. So 130 years ago, 120 years ago, something like that. The Rav of Kinsk, big guy, and he wrote the Chelkas Yoav, and before he died, he wrote a sefer called Kava de Kashisa, which is the Lashon of the Gemara. In Kava, his Gematria 103, Kava 103, these are 103 questions that he couldn't find an answer to. So he wrote down these 103 questions. So here, you see, that's the questions in the middle over here. So the great-grandson, who I know, David... the great-grandson, David Mandelbaum, I met. He wrote a lot of the storm of Moshe Shapiro, I think. So he had the manuscript. It was never published. And he took the manuscript and he sent it out to maybe 50, 60 Rosh Yeshivas and Gedolim in our time. So he sent it to Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, to Rav Yashav, to Rav Sternbach, to, ones that are alive today was Rav Baruch Ezrachi. He sent it out, and they all sent it on the 103 questions. So they all sent in like a couple of shtickle Torah. I know the answer to question 36. They came up with the Torah in this one to 39, and that's what this whole sefer is. Here, Rabbi Sion Abba Shol, Rabbi Isaac Osband. So one of the people that he sent it to was Rav Scheinberg, which is actually why I was looking at this, because I'm writing something for them. So Rav Scheidberg, like very interesting, it goes in alphabetical order, the names of the Gedolim that commented on his question. So the first thing is that Rav Scheidberg answers, the only one, every single one of the questions. Like 103, he said something about all 103. Like, which was like when did he do this? I was watching it, but I never saw it. 103. But then, and it's not just, and then, we're talking about in Yonim of Kachim, and Yonim of Taros, and Yonim of complex in Yonim of Gittin. The things that he had, Kashas was talking about a stira and Toisvus, from Toisvus and Zvachim to Toisvus and Gittin. These were the Kashas, they weren't like little klutz Kashas, we were talking about serious Kashas. He had a teretz on everything. But then I'm looking, so I heard, I went through the Rosh Hashiva's Shiurim twice, like for 14 years, right? I went through the whole thing twice. I said Chazar Sashir on it for one whole machzor, so I was the one, everybody came, and I said over what he said. I hope I said it right, but I got the bait idea I got. And plus, I sat with him and I worked on his farm. I never heard any of this stuff. Almost none of it. Like I'm waiting, waiting to be able to. Never heard any of it. So what's the pshat? The pshat is that this had nothing to do with running a yeshiva. The pshat is that, like, just like Reb Chaim Volozhin had like an enormous amount of information and Kabbalah and Gemara and everything that he had. But what's that have to do with Volozhin Yeshiva? Now I have to teach what the people need to hear. So what do they need to hear? So he gave a shir in Mishnah Berurah, he gave a shir in Nashim and Nezikin, never gave a shir in Kachim, never gave a shir in Taurus, never gave a shir in any of these things. Stirin, I'm just looking this morning, to a steer and Piskei Tosfos into Masechtas. I mean, the chachma of all these gedolim was large, but it's not something that took place in yeshiva, because the yeshiva is for teaching people. And what are we going to get? All we would get from this is see what a gaon he is. So he wanted to get involved with it from his own academic level, but it wasn't part of the yeshiva. So this is the same getter of, I was thinking of just like, teach what people need to learn. Don't teach which the idea is not to show what a genius you are. That's not the shatter. Similarly, I was reading the biography of Rav Hutner Zatzal. It's a little bit different, but it just like it hit me that in the biography they quote a letter from him. But the point was that usually when we hear a good vart or a good story, so the next 10 people we see, have to hear that part and have to hear the story. Like this, we want to say it's a good thing actually. Like we're excited to say over. Rav Hutner used to hear a good part, and he didn't say a word until maybe 12 years later, when it was appropriate to bring it to the drasha. Then all of a sudden he would say that word, like the discipline of being able, like, stop telling you a vart. The vart was filed away for the appropriate moment in his mind. So it's so Masudar, everything was so Masudar, and everything that came to him was all about what is the right way to say this over. If I just tell it to you randomly, okay, so you'll randomly forget it in a day also. But if it's in the right context, so this is the you can never finish learning from Gedolim, because you never know, all of a sudden you're going to hear something which you never heard before, because now is the right time to hear it, and this is the experience with Gedolim. And I think that's what I'm saying is a mushal to understand what he's saying over here. This comes from, he says, anivus. At the end it comes from anivus. At the end it comes from humility and how to humbly present, and it's not about me at all, it's about those that are listening to me. And then, in mine, this is in big black print, so I presume this is important. Anyone who didn't see the strength and the humility delay b'yom hilacha mi'itanu, on the day that he was taken from us, le'ra oiz v'anava, never saw oiz v'anava. Shemi'es tfilas hashachar, from the time he davened shachris on the day that he died, ad eis tzeis nishmas lemarim, until he died that day. What was the last day of the tzaddik? Kol shah v'shah hichlif koach. Every minute he was giving himself more koach. Rega hayamash bil gufay b'dvarav. Sometimes he was like so lowered. Tashihir gishiyashav afer el aretz, when he realized that I'm going to die and my dust is going to be returned to the earth, like it was. Upanav shchayris ka'orev, and his face was black like a raven. Ukarega, and then another moment, hayu misazer hos, he was full of koach. B'dvekas nifla, Upanav hayameirim, and his face was shining, ko'arpnei melech chayim, like a living king. This was going back and forth in him on his last day in life. L'kasher nafshei beruchai shetashuv el elikim asher nosna b'tahara. He was preparing himself to go back to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to give back to HaKadosh Baruch Hu that which was given to him. He wanted to give it back clean. Clean. Tahara. Ad ruchai v'nishmasei elav yisbarach shmai nesfu b'neshika, and then he finally died with Neshika, v'yitzrayim b'tzrayach chayim es Hashem. And then he bound up with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Somebody told me a story. This reminds me. Somebody's told me a story that there's a Yid in Los Angeles whose name I forgot. He doesn't do anything. I mean, doesn't have a yeshiva or anything. Just a very chashuv Yid, and he grew up as a yasam in the house of Reb Shmuel Rozovsky, who's the Reshiva Panovich. So he has all kinds of stories from Shmuel Rozovsky to Reshiva Panovich. So he said over a story. So he said over a story, Shmuel Rozovsky said that when he was a bacher, so he was walking up the hill to Panovich. You know, Panovich is like on a hill, so you have to walk up the hard hill. So he was walking up the hill, and in front of him, the Panovich Rav was walking. The Panovich Rav is walking. The reason I mentioned the Panovich Rav because it was the same thing. They say that the Panovich Rav is known for having built Panovich and Bnei Brak and so many things, but he wasn't known as like, we don't have svarim from him as like the Gon Hadar, you know, we don't have those svarim. But they say he was. But he was just mocker of it because this was not important. What was important was creating Panovich. But as Shmuel Rozovsky said, so those who were around him knew what a Gon he was, but Shmuel Rozovsky saw the Panovich Rav, was an old man already, and he was walking up the hill and he was struggling. So every few steps he would stop. So so there's a couple of bachrim, chashuv bachrim. They're walking. Can we help the Rav up the hill? You know, we'll grab onto our hands. So he says no, go slowly, and he'll make it. He's all right. He'll make it up the hill. So they're watching him go up the hill, and he took a few steps. He stopped, and he took a picture. He took something out of his pocket. He looked at it, and he put it back in his pocket, and he walked further up the hill. It was like on the top of the hill, so they couldn't resist. So they asked him. When he was on top of the hill, he would what do you keep taking out of your pocket? And looking at it. So he said he showed a picture of his wife and I think 6 children that were killed by the Nazis. So, and that's what he would look at. So, because he knew that in order to undo, the work of Hitler, he's got to build this yeshiva and he's got to get up this hill. So it was this picture that was. He stopped, he looked at it, he got the chizuk, I have to make this tikkun, and that gave him strength to go further. When I heard the story for this event, I said to him, isn't it amazing that like so many people come out of the Holocaust and they lost what they lost, and they use that really as the reason why they're not doing anything. Right? Like, I did mine, I suffered enough, I can't, and everybody excuses them, which is correct. Not judging anybody who went through that kind of experience, but here's his whole family was killed, and he's using that as a chizuk to rebuild the Bais Hashem of Panovich, the basic thing. But you see this the two inyanim over here. One is a goyin hadar who's giving up everything. Just let's build for the next generation. They're going to get more out of my yeshiva than they're going to get out of my chidushim that I'm going to write down in a sefer. That's the first. Everyone will say how smart I am, but this is more important. That's first of all, and second of all, that they exactly like this, back and forth. Like I'm too tired, I give myself koach. I'm too tired, I give myself koach. Here he was on his deathbed. He's too tired. How do you feel when you're dying? I don't know, but that he would give himself koach. No, I have to do my avodah. So like he would constantly be such a union to be mechazik yourself to do the avodas Hashem, like just to find the koach. So kal v'chomer if you're not dying that day. But teram lokach oisei elikim, and before Hashem took him, oisei hayom azir garmei v'kamit panav v'nemichas kol. He tensed his face and he said with a low voice, "V'ruach memalel v'nishmas chaim." He spoke with his whole neshama, and this was his last words of Koi Hayadvarim. So his last words. These were his words. Af bari atriach lahatvis hakuntresim chishmahir. It says, all I'm asking is, print this sefer very, very quickly. Va'ata b'ni adata, you, my son, you know, she'af shalomai loizachisi, even though I wasn't zocha to really learn Torah. Zikuni min hashemayim l'lamed lachmina, I was zocha to teach others. V'lasos kiyum l'talmud Torah, and I was able to make a yeshiva, to make a kiyum for Talmud Torah. Even though I never came to the Madrega of Yiras Hashem. Now he's not doing this for covet; he's going to die in a couple minutes. But this was his idea. Ulai, and then he said, Ulai, maybe, Eskem min Hashemayim, I can be zochet for Shemayim. She's kablu dvarai b'kuntrasim ha'elu. That as time will go on in the generations, people will read my words that I'm writing. Nefesh Hachaim. Lahashis Yiras Hashem v'Torah v'Avodah Zaka b'Leiv Yisraelim v'Akshem Darchei Hashem, and it'll put Yiras Shemayim in those people that are learning the sefer. So that's my schus. I'm not a big Talmud Chacham. I'm not a Yir. Never came to the Madrega of Yiras Shemayim. I have the sefer. Eila Advar Masher Diberli. These are the words that he spoke to me. V'Achrei Hadvarim Eila. And after that, Haloi Damua Tidma Ayin Kol Yoris Dvar Hashem. Who could not cry? Who could not shed tears? If you fear Hashem to see, the words that came out of his heart, with all his humbleness, if he's the Gadol Hadar, and all his life he spent in Torah, what's Ner? Nachas Ruach. Ner Liyotzrei. Nidmalei shein bo Yiras Hashem, and he holds that he doesn't have any Yiras Hashem. Anon manene basrei. What can we say? Fair enough. Then he says, V'im kibihu, and the truth is, when it came to me, Lo nistarasti l'chaim miladavu. I didn't do it. This was his last words, and he describes it so emotionally. The last words of Reb Chaim Volozhin. He says the reality is, he says, when he died, I didn't rush to print the Nefesh Hachaim like I was told to. These diaries last year at Tzivini, I wasn't, I didn't move quickly on this as I was asked to do. V'nanashti al zeh kaflayim, and I was punished for this twice, b'fri bitni, by losing 2 children, al chatos nafshi, because of this chet. Echad shel Hoshana Acheres, Yudal Sivan Tavkuf Beis, on the yard side of my father, Yom Patiras Mar Abazal, Noilali Ben Zacher, I had a child exactly on the yard site of my father. Vichnasti Labris, I brought him to the bris, V'nikra Al Shem Sefer, Al Shem Nefesh Hachaim, I presume his name was Chaim. Veinenu, and he no longer with us, Ki Lakach Haisai Alakim B'Yom Shlishi Lamila. He died on the 3rd day after his Milah. V'shana Zu, and on that same year, Hey Kislev, Yom Shabbos Kodesh, Parshas Vayetze, Yatsa Mimenu Hadar, I lost much of the beauty of my family, Keben Shmoina, an 8-year-old, Yefei Torah, beautiful 8-year-old, Nechmad Va'ahuv, Ukfar HaYodea, Lisa V'litem B'Gemara, he knew how to learn, 8-year-old, Kimar Simcha Naftali Hertz, Tzadik Hu Hashem Kibiu Marisi. So he said, because he didn't print the sefer Nefesh Hachaim, it's kind of harsh, that's what he said, because he didn't print the sefer Nefesh Hachaim, he was told to during that first year. So on the yard site he lost 1 son, and then a couple of months later he lost a second son, which he attributed to this. Hashem should be mechaper my avon, and I shouldn't have this. I should have no more tsaris. He says, he says, but you need to understand, Lo milibi chas v'shalom. Ram hayra shah. It wasn't that I was lazy. It was the difficulty of the time. Hayra shah. That's a pun from hayra shah, lashon ra. That's what made it happen. Because from the time that shahuram ha'Torah, that my crown came on, toiva beinenu lo ra'inu. We didn't see anything good happen. I was completely flabbergasted by the responsibilities that I have. I didn't have a minute to supporting the yeshiva. So, this is what it is. The tzaddik was attracting money, and everybody was giving Reb Chaim Volozhin. It was Reb Itzele. So they weren't giving him the same amount of funding and support that he had. So he was running around the whole world. It was a famous thing, trying to support the yeshivas. They didn't have time. I was keeping his other words of trying to build the Beis Ulfin. Everybody knows that. And because of what I was doing, so I wasn't able to do, because I was doing his Ratzon, I wasn't able to do his Ratzon. What's the matter? And now that I did this, look at this, maybe we'll finish the Hakdama. I also wanted to finish writing his Divrei Agoda for his drashos on Pirkei Avos, Shayadar Shabbos v'Shabbatai. B'milan, he used to darshan every Shabbos on Pirkei Avos. B'milan, b'simin, b'shmai na'alai Ruach Chaim. He named Ruach Chaim. He didn't do that, by the way. We have a sefer Ruach Chaim, was written a number of years later after Reb Chaim Volozhin was nifter. It wasn't written by his son. After Reb Itzele was nifter, they took the notes of Pirkei Avos. They put it into the sefer Ruach Chaim. He actually didn't get to do that either. V'asher maleim ruch eitzav ruach bina das v'chaim heim l'moitzeim. Begam, I also wanted l'kavitz kol ha'shaylos and shuvas l'sadram. Also wanted to gather together all of his shaylos and shuvas. L'kroisim Hashem nishmas chaim. I know we don't have that sefer either. Never happened. He had an idea to take all of his shaylos and shuvas and create the nishmas chaim. Ki b'dvarim noisin neshama u'tfuna l'mevinan kinyan shnavar mi yat v'nishmas mi yatsa mimcha. Kuntrasim Elu, this sefer, Karasim Nefesh Hachaim, I called it Nefesh Hachaim, Kichasimasei Shamar Abazal V'Shuvaisa B'Chomich Tova, because he used to sign all of his letters Nefesh Hachaim. That's how he signed his letters, Nefesh Hachaim. Baram, however, Leisa Sar Panui Laza, there was never any time for this. Merube Atirdos V'Avoida Mutelos alive for what I had to do. So these svarim never came out. We have today, by the way, a sefer called Chut HaMeshulosh, which is Shailos and Shuvas from three Gedolim. One of them is Reb Chaim Volozhin. I think there's 32, if I'm not mistaken, I think there's 32 out of hundreds. I think there's 32 Shuvas from Reb Chaim Volozhin, which are well studied in the world of the poskim. But that's what we have from him in Halach. We don't have anything else from him except for these 32 Shuvas. One of them, by the way, I quoted here in Shul once, which was an amazing. I once went to a project to go through these 32 chuvas, which is why I know this, that there was 32 chuvas. But one of the chuvas he writes, a lot of it was about agunas that were going on at that time. People's husbands would disappear in war. They were drafted to the army. And the women didn't know whether they can get married again. They couldn't get married again. So there was a case of the aguna de Volozhin. There was the aguna of Volozhin. So the aguna of Volozhin. So he wrote a chuva being matra this aguna. So it's a long, complicated tshuva. So somebody wrote back to him, one of the other gedolim in the generation wrote back to him, prints this letter there, that he argues with this. He didn't get this Tosfos right. He didn't get this Rambam right. And what about this? And what about that? Like an old pilpul. So he wrote Reb Chaim Volozhin in this tshuva. I think it's tshuva Ramat Bet Shemesh, the last tshuva that we have there. He wrote back to him. He says, "You're asking kashas on Tosfos. I'm listening to the almana cry." He says that I'm paskening one way and you're paskening another way, which is hafel of avela, because halacha is not supposed to be emotional. Halacha is not supposed to be about the almana crying, but it's not true. It is. It is, because you become very resourceful when somebody's crying in front of you. All of a sudden you realize that there's a lot of marmakoimus that you can bring, and so he passeled the other one up for psak. You don't live here. You don't live here. How could you paskin on this case? And he stood by his psak. And then he goes and he answers all of his kashas anyway. But the musik is unbelievable. Ata achrei shemin hashamayim moirani lasis v'tzayin tzadik kvoid mar abba hagoin nishmas eiden. And now that I decided, after losing 2 children, and a year and a half went by, to do the Ratzon of my father, the Tzaddik. I want to do the Ratzon Hashem, and who wants to see the Torah of Chaim, Torah's Chaim, his father. And Hashem should help me, I should be able to print other Svarim. Based in Harav Hamuflug, Vakesh 20 years Hashem, Avram Simcha, Shatar Yoga Pulasadik L'chaim. I had help from this Avram Simcha, I don't know who he was, but Isaac Adfasas Akuntra Simeila, I think it was the printer who helped him publish it. Ve'tiva Hashem L'toivim, She'tiva Mituvim L'sayeh. He's asking, Megufam Kulam Yisur Bracha Me'Hashem. Anybody who helped with this should get a bracha. V'schusei D'kvayt Marabba Goyin Zal, Yisavi B'sadu D'chol HaChavez L'asas Tzornei HaToiv. Lavi Aleim Birchas Toiv Meitim. They should, Reb Chaim Volozhin should be a Melech Yosher for them. I heard once from the Reshiva Sheinberg that B'chal, anybody who prints or reprints or does anything to make the Nefesh Hachaim better, write a pirush on it or something, also gets that same bracha here of Rabbi Volozhin. He says his father will help him with all kinds of things. Ba'atam Bais Yisrael. And here's the closing remarks, and here's Hashem on Thursday we'll start the Nefesh Hachaim itself. Atam Bais Yisrael, Tzur Ru Aderech HaYishar Sheyitbach Ba'adam. Look at the right way that a person should go. Simu Levavchem L'chol Advarim Shenemar B'Yiras Hashem L'chaim. Pay attention to everything that has to do with Yiras Hashem. And the key thing of this whole thing, this whole Hakdama, is that the whole sefer is, as much as it's a philosophy book, the whole sefer is a book about Yiras Shamayim, and it's a book about Anifus. That's what he's writing about. It's right for, you can't write a book about Anifus and Yiras Shamayim unless you have Anifus and your Yiras Shamayim. Should be Hashem's ratzon that this should take hold. Ben Yir Hashem lachos kiris levav achenu b'nei Yisrael taris chesed v'avodah shleima utfilah zaka. See, so the Hasidic world at that time was always accusing the Litvish world of being too academic and elitist. And here's the head of all of the Litvish yeshivas. It's all about Yiras Shamayim. It's all about being a tzaddik, and so that's the whole thing. Upulas tzaddik l'chaim shemasar nafshi b'chayiv al Torah v'avodah. Torah that should be strength to anybody who wants Chaim. He uses the word Chaim a lot because that was his name. But Torah v'avodah b'chol avav v'nafshim lo'er oitzer atayv b'chesed v'rachmin nefesh al nefesh Bais Yisrael. Hashem should have rachmim on all of Bais Yisrael. Sheyichya v'nefesh nena, and everybody's tefillah of their nefesh should be nena yitzchak ben agoyin ha'machaber marina Reb Chaim Volozhin. So that's Tam and Ishlam. So we finished the Hakdama of the Itzele. I said at the beginning of this that there's a lot of svarim on the Nefesh Hachaim, and some of them don't bring the Hakdama all together for some reason, and those that bring them, even though they have a pirush on the Nefesh Hachaim at the bottom, they're not mefarishes. So we may be the first that really learned the Hakdama with some kind of an iyun. But I think it was good to come into understanding the Nefesh Hachaim, understand who he was and why it was written and who his son was and what the whole story is. So Mirza Hashem on Thursday we'll start Shar Aleph Haschal.